The Wall Street Journal is reporting that the Biden administration is now considering lifting sanctions on a Chinese police station if Beijing commits to help in fighting fentanyl and the crisis, which, of course, begins in China. The underlying components are made there and then sent through Mexico into the United States. The Journal is reporting this potential deal with China. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken reportedly proposed the deal while meeting with Chinese officials in Beijing last month. The Trump administration placed sanctions on the Chinese Ministry of Public Security's Institute of Forensic Science back in 2020, saying that it was participating in a mass surveillance campaign against Uyghurs in the country. There's pictures that we have a few years old of the Uyghurs, all handcuffed and blindfolded. Joining me right now is Fox News senior strategic analyst. He is chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. Retired General Jack Keane is here. General, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Yeah, great being here, Maria.
What is your expectation here? Do you think that the U.S. will lift these sanctions on China? Is this the right move?
Well, first of all, I give the administration credit for putting this fentanyl issue on the table with the Chinese. We need to get some help here. As you indicate, the Chinese are providing the chemicals, the cartels are manufacturing the fentanyl and distributing it into the United States. If we can stop this, it'd be a significant plus-up. But to pull back on the technology, what the Trump administration did that was so good is that China was using American technology to help surveil the Uyghurs. And we shut that down. We can't go back and provide, under the guise of counter narcotics, that's what the Chinese are saying. He said, we need that technology for that purpose, but the way they use it is to surveil the Uyghurs. That makes no sense. Two wrongs here aren't going to make a right. So we got to stay in the negotiations with the Chinese. We certainly should not pull back on the sanctions whatsoever. And work very hard also on the fentanyl issue inside the United States, top to bottom. Pressure on Mexico, certainly. Why we can't shut down the distribution network inside the United States for fentanyl when it's known that certain cities have major hubs for it, and give the DEA the priority to do that. If they need help from other federal agencies, let's give them all the help they possibly can and get on with this thing.
Yeah. I mean, look, I know that the Chinese Communist Party has been pursuing the United States to remove sanctions now for some time. This has probably been one of the most important things that the CCP has been pressuring the U.S. on. But General, I mean, I don't understand this administration. We just had a surveillance balloon travel the country. We have police stations here in America. We had a cover-up on COVID. They will not engage, so the U.S. sends all of these people to try to negotiate with China. And as we're doing so, they hack into our emails, hacking into the State Department, hacking into the Commerce Department, getting the whole sense of what the U.S. position us because they got into Blinken and the State Department's emails. And what do? We respond by potentially lifting sanctions? I don't understand this. There's absolutely no response to the bad behavior coming out of the CCP. In fact, we continue to roll over. Why?
Well, I think something happened after the spy balloon incident. There seems to be a sea change taking place in terms of the United States' desire for engagement regardless of China's behavior. I mean, the fact that we're crawling back into negotiation talks with the Chinese after the spy balloon incident, and we were forcing it, is really quite remarkable in itself. I'm not disabusing the fact that talking to China is bad. I don't think that's the case, but I believe fundamentally that the American position is that by talking to China, they believe they can change their behavior. And the Trump administration talked to China themselves rather significantly, and President Trump tried personal diplomacy. But they came to the fundamental conclusion that they could not change China's behavior, that the words don't matter to the Chinese. The only thing that matters to the Chinese, Maria, is what we're talking about here, is actions, steadfastness, resolve. That's what matters to them. And if we concede and give them technology that's going to help them repress their own people, that makes no sense whatsoever.
And in the middle of all of this, China has intensified military drills with Russia amid this conversation. So it's not as if the CCP is trying to appear to be a partner with the United States. No. It's actually helping Russia throughout. And the U.S. has provided more than $42 billion in security assistance to Ukraine since President Biden took office. Since January of 2022, Germany, United Kingdom, Poland, Netherlands, Denmark, Norway have sent over $25 billion combined. President Trump was railing on that on Sunday Morning Futures. He said that Europe needs to step up. Here's what the 45th president said. Watch this. Would you stop the money to Ukraine at this point?
I'd get the war settled. The money is, number one, I tell Europe, you're about $100 billion plus short, okay? You got to pay. Because Europe is smiling all the way to the bank. We're giving all of Europe is doing very little compared to the United States, and it affects them more. We're an ocean apart. Why are we at 150 billion and they're at 20? Their economies almost exactly our size if you add it all up. You add up the countries of Europe, and we have a very similar economy. They should be at the same number that we're at, if not more.
General, what about that?
Well, in principle, I agree with him. The actual money that we've given is $75 billion. And the Europeans have given about $27 billion. I think the Europeans, they don't have the kind of military capability that we have. They're a mere shadow of their former self. The Brits would have trouble fielding a division. We have 10, and the Brits have a larger military than many of the Europeans have. But where they can certainly help is rather significantly in humanitarian aid, and certainly they can do more there. But listen, Maria, the Europeans have helped. It's the Europeans who forced on Biden tanks and armored vehicles into Europe and providing their own. It's the Europeans who are forcing the training of the F-16 aircraft that they own, that they bought from the United States, and hopefully will get in the hands of the Ukrainians. It's Britain and France who provided cruise missiles to go further than the HIMARS can, and also the Europeans, and they know this full well, at the Vilnius NATO summit, confronted the Biden administration over the fact that they're providing equipment much too slow. And we've got to get on with helping the Ukrainians end this war. Look, for the amount of money that we've spent for that $75 billion, half of Russia's military has been destroyed, Maria, for that amount of money. That's staggering. And we haven't lost a single soldier. We haven't committed a single human being in that conflict. And that's a huge investment. That is going to set Putin back for years. We've got 100,000 troops in Europe right now. If we can drive Putin out of Ukraine and defeat most of that military, we certainly aren't going to need all those troops in Europe if this Russian threat has at least been pushed into the distance for years. So it's an investment is the way I've always looked at it, and we've got a pretty good payoff for the investment.
Well, it's a very good point that you make, General. It's great to see you this morning, sir. Thank you.